So last night, a thing happened. A major thing happened. A black film, Sinners, didn't just win the Oscars. It changed the entire conversation of cinema in America. Because this isn't just about awards. It's about history. And believe it or not, we're making history. It is also about culture. And the culture was on full display last night. And it may be the birth, with Sinners, of a brand new American movie genre. We'll talk more about that later. But tonight, this night on Black Truth Daily, we are going to talk about Sinners. We'll be back after this break.
In real estate, time is everything. Every contract, every deadline, every signature. But what if you could close deals without missing life? With Biddy Transactions, your files are handled with precision, compliance, and VIP level care. We manage timelines, we coordinate communication, we track every milestone from contract to closing, so you don't have to. Built on structure, powered by systems, designed for agents who think bigger. While you're building relationships, we're protecting your transaction. Because excellence isn't optional, it's the standard. Biddy Transactions. Stay up, close strong.
So good evening. Welcome to Black Truth Daily. Y'all know me. I am Dr. Larry Smith. And I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I needed a break and I needed to recalibrate my mind because time's moving fast. Time's moving fast, things are happening, and we need to take time out of all of this that is going on to be able to process, to be able to catch our breath so that we can continue to move forward. So thank you all for your patience. Hopefully you've been enjoying the plethora of videos and information that we have out here on this channel. But now let's get back to our Black Truth Daily. Tonight, should I say, we are going to be doing something a little bit different than our normal routine. Because sometimes something happens that needs its own moment. I felt like that for Jesse Jackson. I felt like that for many people. Many things that have occurred just in the last 6 months. But sometimes a movie comes along that isn't just entertainment. It is actually a cultural moment, a cultural event, so to speak. And that is exactly what we saw with Sinners, the movie Sinners. Not just at the Oscars, but just in general, the movie Sinners. Sinners represent a shift, in my opinion, in the culture of American cinema. Because it introduced something that I have come to coin the soul film. And at the end of this episode, towards the end of this episode, we'll talk more in depth about this new concept of cinema called the soul film. But let's talk about the Oscars for a second. The Academy Awards have always been presented as kind of the highest homage, the highest honor, the highest thing an actor can get in their career is to win an Oscar. Because what it represents is your peers recognizing your work and giving you the stamp of approval in cinema as your peers. That's a very important thing to note. However, we call the Oscars Hollywood's biggest night. But if we're being honest, historically, the Oscars have always been something else as well. They have always been a mirror, a reflection, a mirror reflecting who America celebrates, what America prefers to see, and how America values the many different demographics that are present in the country and who make cinema. And who America also struggles to recognize as integral parts of the American movie experience. Because just like as in football with the Super Bowl, just as in politics with right versus left or whomever's running, the Oscars have always in America been viewed through the racial lenses. For real. Let's start with the name, okay? Well, let's start with the name that, should I say, that every serious Oscar conversation must begin with. And that is the actress who played Mammy in the 1939 Oscar-winning film Gone with the Wind, Hattie McDaniels. Hattie McDaniels. In 1940, Hattie McDaniel became the first Black American to win an Academy Award. She won for Best Supporting Actress in that movie, Gone with the Wind. And on paper, this moment looked a lot like progress because no one had done it before who was Black. But the reality tells a different story. The reality of it is that Hattie McDaniels, while she was groundbreaking and etching this new path, she was creating a new pathway for many Black people. She was also facing the racism of the day. The ceremony took place at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles that year. And because the hotel practiced segregation, Hattie McDaniel was not even allowed to sit with the rest of her castmates during the ceremonies. She sat by herself at a table alone, at a segregated table. In the back of the room, like she was the help. Now imagine that. You are one of the guests. You are someone who just won the biggest award in Hollywood. But you still can't sit with other winners. You still can't sit with the cast and crew whom you worked tirelessly with on this movie. But you know what? That is America. And that presented itself back then. And for decades, Black artists were largely confined to narrow roles: the servant, the criminal, or the symbolic exception. And then there's Sidney Poitier. In 1964, there was another monumental moment in Oscar history. And that is when Sidney Poitier won for Best Actor in 1964. This was a historic moment, y'all. But it would take decades after that historic moment before another actor actually reached the same stage and won the same award. And then there's Halle Berry. In 2002, Halle Berry, in her speech, after winning the first Oscar for an Academy Award for Best Actress as a Black woman, she says something very powerful in her speech. Watch this.
This moment is so much bigger than me. This moment is for Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, Diane Carroll. It's for the women that stand beside me. Jada Pinkett, Angela Bassett, Vivica Fox, and it's for every nameless, faceless woman of color. I want to thank my mom, who's given me the strength to fight every single day to be who I want to be. Lastly, and not leastly, I have to thank Spike Lee for putting me in my very first film and believing in me, Oprah Winfrey for being the best role model any girl can have, Joel Silver, thank you, and thank you to Warren Beatty. Thank you so much for being my mentors and believing in me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So in that speech, Halle Berry noted that this moment that she was in of winning this Academy Award was much bigger than she. And she noticed that. And she was right about that. Because it took nearly a century, 100 years of cinema, American cinema, for the moment that she was living in 2002 to even happen. Then came a phase that shook Hollywood. And that's the Oscars so white phase, right? Where we begin to complain and we begin to make noise as black artists, actors and actresses, production hands and directors and producers and composers. We begin to take note and to mark that Oscar had become white. And that black people who have been here in this territory just as long as white people were being denied. While at the same time, our contributions to American entertainment are priceless, cannot be duplicated. And so we get the hashtag Oscar So White. This wasn't about one ceremony. It was about an entire system. A system that often recognized black talent, but only under very specific conditions. But today, this day, something different happened. And that's Sinners. With Sinners, Ryan Coogler did something that no director had ever done in the United States, especially no black director. Tonight we saw a film that didn't dilute its voice, didn't apologize for the culture. It didn't translate itself for white approval. And it won awards for it and critical acclaim for it. And for many of us, black people, it's a powerful feeling. You know, when I went to see Sinners at the movie for the first time, I'd seen it multiple times since then, I was in awe. I was like, wow, it felt rooted, it felt true, it felt cultured, it felt so authentic to blackness. And I hadn't seen that really in any movie on that level. And so when it came to the Oscars, I was like Issa Rae. Rooting for everybody black. And of course, that's what we did. That's what we did. So the story that we're talking about when it comes to Sinners is bigger than film. It's bigger than just a conversation we're going to have about film or about one particular award show. Because what Ryan Coogler may have done with Sinners, in my educated, historical, social science, socially aware, popular culture commentator perspective is, I believe that with Sinners, Ryan Coogler has created something new, a new genre. But first, let's talk about the wins. Let's celebrate those who won an award at the Academy at the Oscars tonight. Well, last night. Sinners was nominated for 16. Historically, it made history. The most nominations for a single movie in United States history is the movie Sinners. So that in itself was enough to be proud of. And we found that out during Black History Month. Now, this Black History Month was an arduous one for us because it was stuff coming from all directions. Even dealing with this movie, where Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were literally called the N-word publicly. And they had to take it on the chin and keep going. But last night, Sinners took home 4 of its 16 nominations. Now, I'll say from the jump, before I get into the winners, there are some disappointments that I had that I wanted to see. Of course, I wanted to see Sinners win Best Picture. To me, it was hands down the best picture of the year. And many people agree with that same sentiment. So it should have won the Best Picture. Or at least Ryan Coogler should have won Best Director. But you know, it didn't happen. I was also a bit disappointed that Delroy Lindo, who has had a 50-year career in cinema, and not just any career, he's a phenomenal actor. From Crooklyn to several other movies, Malcolm X, Delroy Lindo has stepped up and has been a phenomenal actor. And this was a chance for him to get his just due, and they missed the ball once again on that one. Nevertheless, Sinners made major history at the 98th Academy Awards. So let's break down the wins. Sinners took home multiple categories last night, including Best Director, Best Original Screenplay. I'm sorry, no, not Best Director. Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and of course, Best the male actor, the lead actor, Michael B. Jordan. He took that home, and the score, the music, Best Score. But the significance of these wins goes a lot further than just the trophies that they received last night, because these are historical, these are global, these are culturally relevant wins. One of the things about Sinners is that it pulled every culture in it. Asian and white people and black people and from Africa and Latin America. That one scene, that spectacular scene, included everybody. And so Sinners represent kind of a coming together. Even though it's a black story, it's very universal that everybody can feel part of, right? As black culture has been historically, from our music, our art, our clothes, our language, our foods, so forth. It's very welcoming. And that's a powerful thing. That's a powerful thing. But historically, black cinema has often been recognized when it focuses, has often been recognized when it focuses on black suffering. So, for example, slave movies get a lot of recognition. Movies about the civil rights movement get a lot of recognition. But films that center on black interior life, actual black day-to-day existence, don't always get attention. Black imagination, black spirituality, they have historically struggled to receive the same recognition as black struggle films. But that pattern shifted with Sinners, because Sinners wasn't about struggle per se. Sinners was literally just a moment in time in black history that recognized the black experience from the black experience. Culturally, Sinners also does something unusual. What it does is it takes black life and makes black life the center of the narrative without apology, without making space or place for really anyone else's story to be the driving force. Everyone else in the movie is an extension or an attachment to the black story that is happening. So you get engulfed in that. It places black life at the center, without explanation, without compromise. And that matters because cinema shapes how cultures understand themselves and how cultures and people understand each other. So when you can pull somebody in to a historical fiction of the 1930s and 40s in Mississippi and tell the story through those lenses and still make it an critically acclaimed success, that's a big freaking deal. But also Sinners has a global recognition. Black American culture, as I stated before, already influences the entire world. We are that culture. Our culture is that culture. Our music, our fashion, our language, our foods, all of that, as I stated before. But global cinema has rarely allowed black storytelling to lead on our own terms. Black storytelling to lead on its own terms. It's always watered down. And with Sinners, we see something shift. We see a shift, something different. A shift. A recognition of black storytelling as universal storytelling. A lot of the culture that people have as it relates to black culture usually comes from what people want people to know about black culture, but it is not encompassing of our stories. Even movies that are written about and produced on slavery and sometimes Jim Crow are not produced mostly sometimes from our perspective. I mean, you do have like Ava DuVernay's Selma and things like that, and the Butler, and these movies that have these conversations, but it's not told like you're not worried about the character's race, ethnicity. You're just experiencing life through their terms. Usually movies that did that were relegated as black cinema and not really big box office hits. But the most important thing about Sinners is not just the awards that it got. Michael B. Jordan totally deserved the Best Actor award because he played two parts, which just reinforces the idea that as black people, we sometimes have to work twice as hard to get the same rewards. But he well deserved that award. The cinematography was done to perfection, and the young lady who won that award, also a black indigenous woman, deserved that award because it was done in excellence. But it's not just about the awards, it's the genre. Because what we might be witnessing with Sinners, as I've stated before and as I've already alluded to, is the birth of something new, a new genre. And that genre, I refer to it as the soul film. The soul film. And so tonight I want to introduce this concept to my audience and to the world. Sort of a framework of the soul film, a genre, a new genre. Something, like I said, that I call the soul film. Now, I will say this, and mean it, and totally will stand by it. Only black people can sing soul music, in my opinion, and only black people can create soul films. Because it requires a certain nuance of blackness, of black intellect, of black cadence, of black memory, of black attitude, of black feelings, black experience, to be able to pen to paper the authenticity of that unapologetically. And so for me, the soul films exist within a broader tradition called black realism. And there are many writers, Toni Morrison, James Baldwin, even movie producers and directors like a Spike Lee, like the director of Boys in the Hood, John Singleton. These are black realist movies. These are black realist artists and writers and creators. So black realism is definitely a thing we see. Black realism generally centers on black life as reality. It doesn't necessarily have to include anybody else in it. It's a focus point of black reality. So for example, in Boys in the Hood, you're in a moment in that neighborhood with those boys growing up there. When it comes to things like Do the Right Thing or Malcolm X, you're in that with them from their black vantage points. Not a stereotype, not a spectacle, but the actual lived experiences of the black characters or black subject matters that you are focusing on. Their lived experiences. But a soul film goes a bit deeper than that, right? So a soul film is about immersion. Like you're completely engulfed in the black reality. It pulls the audience into black culture, into black spirituality. Because I even say with black realism in movies, it has almost a magic realism. If you know anything about literature, art, there's a such thing as magic realism, where supernatural things occur in the natural world. A good work to consider when thinking about that is Gabriel Garcia Marquez's book, A Man with Big Wings, right? It's a fantastic, as far as magical occurrence occurring. However, to be black, especially black American, but black in general, life is spiritual. Life has supernatural components to it. I don't quite know how to explain it, but black people, y'all know what I'm talking about. So, but these soul films immerses you in that. And there's no question of the spirituality. It's just part of the reality. Black memory, black joy, black grief, black humor, black mysticism, all of it is embodied in the soul movie. Because it's almost like your senses are full engulfed in blackness, that you can't escape it, that you find yourself relating, or if you're not black, if you're black, find yourself agreeing and understanding clearer, and you're just immersed, all of it, without any type of translation. In soul films, the ancestors are somehow present, music doesn't just take on a form of a backdrop. It is part of the storytelling. Black life is so musical, so spiritual, so musical. All of that's there. The church is sometimes philosophy. The barbershop becomes politics. The kitchen is history. And that's what Sinners was. When you were in Sinners, you weren't just observing a movie. You were immersed in a complete black world from a black vantage point, and you were just witnessing people who were black living their day-to-day lives. And supernatural things were occurring. Vampires came. Voodoo was present. The music scene took you to another worldly experience, which would have been normal in a juke joint experience, right? You wouldn't see it as this big supernatural thing, but the feeling gives it away. Sinners feels different. This is why Sinners feel different, because it doesn't simply show black life, it's actually living inside. You're in the moment. So I call it a soul film, because the only way to relate something so authentic and so true is to have a soul connection to it, and to be created from the soul. Writers and scholars have talked about this idea actually for decades, believe it or not. For example, Toni Morrison, the great writer, the great black realist writer, she said, if there is a book you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. And Ryan Coogler may have done the cinematic version of that. The movie that he wanted to see, that he wanted to feel he exists in when he watches, he made the film that didn't exist, and he created it. And in doing so, he may have opened the door for a new kind of storytelling. How black stories get told, right? I feel like he's ushering in, or going to usher in, soul movies, soul films, in which you are experiencing black life as is, as was, and there's no question about it. There's no hyper emphasis on the bad. It's part of it. There's no hyper emphasis on the reality of religion and spirituality in it. It just interweaves into it. Customs and traditions that are black, music cultures, they're interwoven in, and there's no, with the soul film, you don't see the boundaries, because they blend so well. It reminds me actually of that picture in the Good Times where they're dancing and everybody seems to be flowing in. He actually said that's the picture that inspired the juke joint scene. And it makes sense, because that picture does give you a surreal reality of movement, and you're in the picture looking at the picture. But imagine the possibilities. Future filmmakers, future stories, and future audiences can use this foundation to draw audiences into films about black people and the black experience and all. I would love to see more history movies made in the soul film genre, because you can viscerally feel it. You can feel it with every sense and every sensory emotion and sensibility that you have. A movie genre where black life is not the subplot, it is the center. It is the plot. Unapologetically. Unapologetically. And so many people are going to be educated, influenced, amazed at the soul of black folks. Not to quote W.B. Du Bois, but the soul of black folks is important. And to put it on cinema, Ryan Coogler really did his big one with Sinners, and I look forward to seeing more of his work where he does that, but more of other directors and producers and screenwriters and artists who bring that experience to audiences. Because the black story has yet to be told authentically from us. So tonight we celebrate wins, obviously, wins. Sinners taking home 4 of 16 Oscars is a win. You know, we celebrate that. Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler and the young lady who won for cinematography, and even the young white guy who won for a score. We celebrate Sinners for winning. But more importantly, we recognize what I consider to be a genre, if not a cosmic genre shift. Because culture doesn't change slowly. It changes in moments. Moments when something new appears. Moments when the rules just stop working. Moments when a story finally gets told differently. When the camera just begins to take its focus from saying, look at me, to saying, join me. Soul films say, join me. Come in. Experience my world. Experience the world. Smell the flowers. Taste the honey. See the beautiful colors. Hear the wonderful sounds. And remember how it makes you feel. The Oscars have always reflected America. And America has always struggled with race. Always. And may always. But every once in a while, something breaks through. And tonight, with sinners, just in general, this might be one of these breakthroughs. Because cinema matters. Stories deserve to be told. That matters. It shapes memory. It shapes imagination. And when black stories are told with truth, depth, and soul, the entire world can't help but stop and listen. So tonight I want to celebrate sinners, celebrate everyone involved, because everyone played a role in this magic. Everyone brought an essence to this. Tonight we'll reflect. And tonight we say something simple. And it's just like Issa Rae said. I'm always and forever and ever, ever, and ever, ever, and ever, ever rooting for everybody black. And tonight, that has been our Black Truth. I'm out. Thank y'all for making it this far. I appreciate my audience. I appreciate my people who like the videos, who comment on the videos, who watch the videos, who share the videos. I appreciate y'all all. I don't ever want that to seem as though I take that for granted. You all are special. I'm just a boy from Louisiana by way of Atlanta who come here and speak my heart, put my work into this. So the greatest thing you can do for me is to watch the videos, to like the videos, to comment on the videos, to share the videos, and so forth. Thank you once again, and I will see you next time. Peace.